Does emotional intelligence play a role in conflict resolution or team building within teams, within companies? And if it does, then what role can it play in this? This is our topic for today. Stay tuned. I have a special guest for you today. Welcome everyone. Welcome to the Quantum Leadership Hacks, everyone. I'm your host, Dr. Nabila Vieb, and today we are diving right into a powerful and essential topic for female leaders in the GCC. What role does EI, emotional intelligence, play in conflict resolution within team? With me to discuss this topic, I can only bring you the best. Joining me is Renwa Hebbal. I hope I'm pronouncing the name correctly, an
Absolutely.
accomplished HR leader. Come on in, Rinwa, and please hit the ground running and introduce yourself to our amazing audience. Welcome. I'm delighted to have you in here, Rinwa. Let's go.
Well, hello, number one, and thank you for having me on your channel. I really appreciate that. And no cheating, but my family name is Hebbal. There's a history behind my family name, but we can leave
Love
it to a different day, right?
it.
And thank you for bringing me on your podcast and on your channel, LinkedIn channel. I've been like watching what you post, the topics that you bring to life. Personally, I think you hit the nail right, Dr. Nabila, because these are the topics that perhaps the world needs to know more about. The world and the people around the world actually need to delve deeper into it. So I congratulate you and salute you. So hats off to whatever you're bringing to the society across the board and across the world. So let me just, take this opportunity one more time to reintroduce myself at a very high level for those who don't know me or we haven't connected on LinkedIn. So my name is Ghinwa Habbal. I'm originally Lebanese. I've been based out of Dubai for the past 15 years. So, who am I in a nutshell? Well, I don't usually like to talk about myself a lot. I think, I shy away from over branding or over talking about myself. But I started business more than 15 years ago. So don't judge me by my looks. Yes, I might look young, but I'm not anymore, unfortunately. But it's a blessing to stay as young. So I started business like a while ago. I hold my master's degree in business and organization psychology with coaching. I'm a brain-based certified coach and resilience coach as well, and currently pursuing my doctorate. I'm about to finish somehow, somewhere. This is all exclusive to you, Dr. Nabila. Today, today I run a division at a Fortune 500 organization within the automotive segment. I lead their strategic talent management function, and I've been, I think, in my bank, I have around 20 years of experience when it comes to human resources, strategic thinking, in a way or another, when it comes to culture, employee experiences. And I try as much as possible when I work with my clients as a coach to prepare them for, the future through robust strategies that will equip them to manage the to manage the VUCA environment that we all are currently living on a perhaps daily basis. So this is me in a nutshell. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to, connect with your audience and with your world. So your orbit is my orbit. Thank you.
Absolutely. Our orbits seem to be collapsing and co-working and coordinating
Collaborating.
and like, tangoing together.
Yes, they're tango.
Ghadwa.
It takes two. It takes two to tango. Huh?
It does. Good evening. Good evening. Umayma is here with us. Hello. Hello. Good to see you in here, Umayma. So, Ghanwa, listen, let's
Mm,
get started with emotional intelligence. This is like the
mm,
new kid in the block. It's not so new, but, for visibility on LinkedIn and so on, we are talking about EI instead of you know IQ. But what is it like? What
mm.
first of all, introduce us to this new, so to speak, kid in the block, and why do we need to consider emotional intelligence in the workplace today?
Well, that is an interesting question, and obviously it has, a lot of when you go to in a maze and you find like a lot of doors, lots of secret doors, and then you open one door, it's this, it's not that, and sometimes you open and you say like, yeah, I found the gem. So first of all, if I, in my personal opinion, so I think a lot of researchers have been there. Daniel Goleman is perhaps well known as the father of emotional intelligence, because I think this is when the world started to know more about emotional intelligence. I'm not certified when it comes to psychometric assessment, when it comes to to emotional intelligence, but I've read a lot about it. I believe in it, and I recently co-authored a book which is coming up in February 2025. It's all about emotional intelligence in the business world, and this book definitely will be serving a lot of audience. I can speak about it at a later stage, but back to your question, when it comes to emotional intelligence, I think, if I have to summarize it and define it in my own way, it's
Mhm.
the human ability not just to manage their own emotions and understand their own emotions and be aware of their own emotions, but also obviously it's about understanding the environment where these emotions get infused, get fueled, and they get to either to flourish or to flourish. Let's put it this way. So there are triggers that create that support, or sorry, there are triggers that do not support our emotional intelligence, that derails it, and then there are also glimmers that definitely aid our levels of emotional intelligence. And some people would say, it's a muscle that you have to train, which is right, because earlier in the days, people did not think that emotional intelligence was something that you can exercise. It's something that you can wasn't something that you could learn, and it was only associated with people with leaders actually, who were charismatic, right?
Mm,
Um,
right.
so eventually the vibe or the winds have changed, and our way of thinking and believing and operating and leading has also changed. Human psychology has evolved, right? And now there are more further studies that showcases that yes, emotional intelligence is your ability as a human, right, to literally, it's your responsibility as a human as well, right, to evolve and to work on your levels of emotional intelligence, because it doesn't only support you on a business level inside your organization, it's also supporting you on your personal aspect, right? So if you really want to be successful, impactful, either in a business world or in personal, your within your personal environment, your emotional intelligence, in my opinion, if I have to take Maslow's hierarchy of needs and adopting that framework, right, I would definitely say that the basis of all the levels of intelligence, as I go up to the tip of that iceberg or tip of that pyramid, it all starts with emotional intelligence, because that is the bread and butter, or the basis, the foundation of all the other intelligence that I spoke about, like the social intelligence, the cultural intelligence, the you know uh, all of these aspects. Because with emotional intelligence, and I sorry I dwelled a lot on this, right, it also has its own dictionary. And when I say
Mm,
dictionary, it's I trying to identify, how are you feeling today, or trying to label that emotion in terms of how you're feeling, right? So there's a huge, like, dictionary on the words that sometimes we don't know. That our emotional intelligence, if you know about it and you master that dictionary, you will be able to at least name that emotion. So you have to label it, name it, and then so you can tame it. So in the world,
Wow, I love it. Name it and tame it. I love it. Nada Al Qahtani here is saying hello, hello. Hello, Nada. We are so happy to have you in here with us. This is so, so interesting, Ghanwa. Listen,
mm,
this, let's call emotional intelligence like your enhanced self awareness about your emotions. It's like you know what's going on in here, you know what your body or your mind is telling you through those emotions you are feeling. Now, this
yes,
enhanced or improved, let's call it enhanced self awareness. Um, what is its role like if I better understand my emotions? Is that, first of all, a precursor to better understanding the others?
of course. So emotional intelligence, again, in order to you master emotional intelligence, right? Because it's layered, right? It's
Mm,
like the skin.
mhm,
You have the dermis, the epidermis, and so on. It's the same with emotional intelligence. And the first level of emotional intelligence is basically the human person, like my self-awareness, my very own self-awareness, right? So if I do not know who I am, what triggers me, and then what helps me glow, let's say if that triggers my, in a way or another, my triggers and my glimmers, right? So if I don't
right.
know my triggers and my glimmers, right, then and then what helps me evolve, or what does, or what hinders me, right, I wouldn't be able, first of all, to communicate with others, because when I don't have clarity of who I am, what happens ultimately, I'm not a psychologist, but what happens ultimately is, our levels of insecurities, and because we're all, we're all traumatized. I always say this, right? We live in a world that somehow is harsh, and we have experiences, and these experiences sometimes they're good and sometimes they're not, unfortunately. But the ounce is on us in terms of how we manage all of that. So with a good level of emotional intelligence, I can manage and create value of that experience that is even not good for me. So going back to what you were saying, yes, awareness, self-awareness is the first one. And if we don't understand who we are, then we fall into the trap of insecurities taking over us.
I
So
love it. This is so clear and so to the point. Now, we say we can all have a great attitude and everything great when everything going well. I understand you. We're good. But how about when things go wrong? When and things do go wrong, in the corporate or anything. How does this enhance the state of knowledge? How does emotional intelligence how can it help
mm,
better and perhaps solve issues and conflicts faster in the workplace?
see, I mean, we live in a world that is quite complex, right? And we as humans, we're very diverse. And when I say diverse, I mean I come from a different part of the world. It means I have a different mindset, different upbringing, different experiences, different thoughts, different beliefs, and all of these create the person or the woman who I am, right?
Yeah.
Because I am different, it means a lot of people that I work with, let's say going back now to the workplace, are also going to be different. Their, their confidence levels, their thinking, the way of thinking, their belief system, their communication style, and guess what? We live in the GCC, which is a very diverse what region, right? I
And
think if
Dubai, the
in the
melting pot.
exactly. So I live in a country that has almost 200 nationalities, and I work with people literally on a daily basis. And if I have to count by going by count, I work with around 23 different nationalities, right? So what happens is when you um, understand, right? Who you are as a person. That is self awareness. Then what happens is you go into the second layer of emotional intelligence. Remember back the skin, we said it's layered. It's the same with
Mm.
emotional intelligence, right? You have also the relationship aspect, which is the ultimate level of emotional intelligence. So when you start understanding who you are and then the people around you, and then you start, your active listening, your own analysis, and you are able by understanding or by naming and taming, and so you can claim your emotional intelligence. What you are able to do is you're able to at some point analyze and talk to people away from your personal biases.
Mm.
And
Right.
when you step away from being unconsciously conscious person, right? And what I mean by that is even when you want to take a decision, by the way, you try to search as a human or as a leader to facts that will affirm your decision. So you adopt your confirmation bias aspect, right? But when you are aware of that through different levels of emotional intelligence, what you are able to do or what you will be able to do as a professional in the workplace is to tame these biases. Number one, take control over them. Try to listen to people from a different lens, because when you listen, and when I say listen, I mean like you listen with your ears, you listen with your eyes, you listen with your brain, you listen with your heart, you listen with your gut. So you are literally engaging all of your senses. So when you leverage all of these, which are God-given gifts to humans, which we forget about them in the business world, by the way, right? What happens is you are eliminating conflicts that might arise in the future. But yes, we're humans, right? And things go south and problems are there because we are, our limbic brain takes over in a way or another. And that's why we have conflicts. But again, I believe in the power of humans, right? And only because, humans are very powerful, I think they have the ability to minimize the numbers of conflicts that happens in the workplace where they can. But and if I have to say that, as an advocate of emotional intelligence, I think this is the ultimate or the biggest muscle that a person can have and adopt and train if they really want to be good leaders in the workplace.
This is so interesting, and it brings me. You were talking about listening, and we all know the importance of active listening and what have you. But active listening, if you are intently listening to the other person, apparently, and these skills are listed, by the way, in the World Economic Forum 2024 report, where emotional intelligence, listening intently, listening to understand, and not listening to respond. And this brings me to another point when it comes to team building. And part of
Mm,
team building is also knowing how to solve
problems.
conflicts and so on. So sometimes for me it's about, when you are emotionally intelligent, it's a whole difference between saying you are delaying the project as opposed to, I feel concerned about the project's timeline. For me, having
Mm.
been in the corporate, and sometimes the way you phrase the sentence uh,
Oh, it's a
can
lot.
resonate differently with the other person. It can either aggravate or or attenuate or decrease the aggression, so to speak, in the tone. What do you think, Renwa, when it comes to this? Like how emotional intelligence can switch or can flip the tone from literally pointing fingers and who did what, da da da, in a conflict, into trying to understand the other person's perspective. Can you expand a little bit on that?
Of course. So I mean, from as you were talking, Dr. Nabila, I was just, I like an aha moment just hit me, and it felt like, when you get sick, what happens is your antibodies internally inside you as a human, right? They fight with the virus,
They
and
do.
then and then
They
what happens
do.
is, you take that like, antibiotic, which is the anecdote to help you survive by, killing these antiviruses in your system. And it's the same with emotional intelligence. Let me put it this way. I work away from, the healthcare society. I am an automotive woman all the way. But you just, gave me that, hit me with an aha moment from what you have shared. And it's right, right? So when you, again, do not exercise your emotional intelligence in a way or another, what happens, we start blaming each other. So and when we start blaming each other, right, we will get aggressive with each other. There's a difference between being affirmative, right, in the way you say it with empathy, right?
Hmm.
And you gave just a very good example, Dr. Nabila. You just mentioned, the timeline concept and how you put your message across. So communication here is key, right? And when you have your emotional intelligence hat on, the way you're communicating with people, it will be equipped with empathy, compassion, right? Because you have put your emotions on the side, and now you're rationally coming to step, or you're rationally stepping into a conversation that will ultimately lead to success. However, when we do not have that empathy, and let me call them the spices, right? I always like to use metaphor when I speak because it helps perhaps send the message easier, right? And everybody loves food in a way or another. So when you use emotional intelligence with combined with empathy, which is the spice, right? What will happen is your tone, or you as you're communicating as a human, you will tone down, and then you will become more rational. And once you are more rational, you are able to send the message across without labeling or shaming or blaming. And this is when you start having a very good culture. And that's why I will always associate, if you really want to have a successful organization, right, where people are thriving because they have a really good culture, right, what happens is, we in the business, we need to have an emotionally intelligent society so we can resolve conflicts as quick as possible, right? Because only then we are able to drive business performance even to the next level. So today, just for the sake of this topic, and for the sake of the question, I was just talking today that where I work, that we as an organization, or professionals in the organization, when we work, we look at things as separate parts. And this is where, a lot of people and a lot of organization, and now as a business, I'm having my business psychologist hat on. This is when organizations usually fail, right? And in order not to do so, what they need to look, or what they need to think of as an organization, as a holistic body. You have the head, the neck, the body, the heart, the gut, and everything, the hands. So when organizations and leaders think as if this is a holistic body, this is when we start, stepping into the future, or being future ready. So thank you for asking this question. And I think I took a lot of time elaborating on that.
I love it. I love it. And I know this discussion is very, very meaty, so to speak. But I know also we have a hard stop at 30 past because of your commitments. And I thank you so much for availing the time to come on the call and discuss this. And it's interesting that we get to discuss this both from the point of view of you being in the corporate, and at the same time as the entrepreneur. And this can only like flesh out and consolidate the discussion. I will take the so and you rounded up the discussion so well by saying that when a team successfully resolves a conflict through dialogue and discussion and not pointing fingers, it actually builds a foundation of trust. And it creates a culture where individuals do really want to stay and feel comfortable. You know, we know that people do not leave jobs because of paychecks or anything, but they leave jobs because of cultures, because of toxic cultures, because of the people in there and how they are made to feel. So so resolving and having a way and a system, and every time you resolve the system, it can only consolidate the connection between the team members. I'm going to take those next 3 minutes which I have to ask you one final question. If you had to pick one thing, one technique, one tool that members of a team can use to consolidate and build emotionally intelligent contexts and cultures, what would that be?
Hmm. See, I believe so. I mean, people are different. And when it comes to me, I like to read a lot about it, right? So you have to be curious, Dr. Nabila, if you really want to grow, right?
Yeah.
And to be curious, it means you have a certain level of interest. And the problem is sometimes you work with people who are neither interested in the job, neither interested in the brand, neither interested in the function that they work with. It's just they're just there for the pay. And if that's the case, and I was once there, by the way, right? If that's the case, what I have done, honestly, is I managed to leave the job because I wasn't serving myself, number one, and I wasn't serving the people that were working with me. So eventually, you have to read ultimately, right? But start with curiosity. With curiosity, you can drive your ship, you can sail, sorry, your ship to the next level. So when it comes to emotional intelligence, if I have to summarize it in a very succinct way, ask yourself, who are you without your title?
Wow, I love this.
So this is where I would start. And
Yeah.
then, people can take it from there.
Yeah, this is so powerful, Ghanwa. I love this. So the curiosity, where you were talking about curiosity, this is so good because when we decide to be curious, and I highlight decide because it's a decision. Every
Yeah.
step of the way, you are even you when you decide, when you say, "Oh, no, I'm not going to do anything," that's a decision in and by itself. So when we decide to stay curious, it's like we are leaving our mind open and we are deciding to have an open growth mindset or growing mindset that is prone for development and improvement every step of the way. We can really start small and then model the behaviors we want to see, we want to emulate in solving conflicts and keeping the team dynamics evolving for the better. So I love this concept of just be curious. And it goes any everywhere. Like I'm curious to understand why Redma was angry when I'm curious to understand why the project didn't hit its timeline. I'm curious why. I mean, if we get out of our own, so to speak, little
Bubble.
mind and try to see a bigger picture, I'm sure we are going to empathize with somebody else's position, somebody else's perspective. Maybe a director is himself under pressure by
For
his
sure.
next level up. Maybe he is held accountable with certain other things, and henceforth the
Yeah.
pressure he's putting on the team. You never know. So just by saying, maybe I don't know the entire thing, maybe I don't have the full details of the whole picture, Let me
I
just
guess
say,
most of the times you don't have it.
we don't have it, and sometimes we don't have access to it.
Yeah.
Well, it's 1 minute past. I have to wrap up. Thank you so much, Renwa, and to our listeners. Remember that conflict isn't about avoiding or anything. It's about mastering something. That starts by staying curious, staying empathetic, staying open, staying to see something from a different point of view, and that can go a long way into resolving conflict. A few words to wrap up and finish this call, my friend Renwa. Can you please go ahead and wrap up this call, please?
Well, definitely. So, first of all, for those who want to know more about emotional intelligence and how can you leverage the power of emotional intelligence in the workplace, stay tuned to a book that I'm launching in 2025. So, sorry, Dr. Nabila, but
Yay!
just wanted to share this as an exclusive to you as well. So, it would be my pleasure if you let me know at a later stage when you have the book in 2025. What are your thoughts on that? It's a nice playbook, if I have to say so, that will guide you. Again, on emotional intelligence, remember that this is a muscle, right? And when we hit the gym for the first time, it would be paramount for us to understand, where do we need to start? And in the gym, sometimes your coach will tell you start small with light weight. And what does that mean in the corporate world? It means start with your inner self, be in touch. When you touch things, be in touch with your inner self, because this is the first point of how you can master and accelerate and boost your levels of emotional intelligence, so you can take yourself and the team and your peers and your business to the next level. And this is when you avoid the blame and shame game. And last but not least, this is an ultimate way, definitely, to label that pain or label that feeling, and then so you can claim it, name it, and then you can aim it. Thank you so
Wow, I
much.
love this. There you have it. You have it all, my friends in here. Thank you so much for joining the podcast. So use today's takeaways. I always finish with tangible takeaways. So use today's takeaways to name it, tame it,
So
claim
you
it,
can claim it.
and claim it. I love this. So use it to build a stronger, more resilient teams. Until next time, keep leading with empathy, keep leading with clarity and courage. Renoir, once again, thanks so much. I appreciate you very much. Bye
Thank you
bye,
so much, Dr.
everyone.
Nabila. Ciao for
You're
now.
absolutely welcome. Bye bye. Good night, everyone.